The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Welcome to Wilfred Watches Podcast, an American podcast about professional wrestling. Really quick, I want to say thank you to all the patrons supporting the show. We have 9 patrons now supporting the show financially. You get lots of early releases and stickers and all that good jazz. So thank you guys for supporting me from the bottom of my heart. Today, I have a very special guest. He is a former 3-time WWF/E Tag Champion, WCW alumni, ECW, and I could name off the companies for days. And now, Ring of Honor as part of the Villain Enterprises. Please welcome the reborn legend. He is not human. He is PCO. Hey, buddy.
Hey, what an intro, man. That's awesome. That's great. Thanks a lot, Wilfred, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate that.
Really fortunate for you to spend some time. Thank you. I want to pick your brain for a few minutes, so thank you, buddy.
Of course. Go ahead, man. It'll be fun. We're going to have fun.
Awesome, man. So in 2018, you were a bit of an Iron Man. You fought at nearly 40 or more different organizations, having some wild matches. You had guys like Masato Tanaka, Matt Riddle, Walter, L.A. Park. I mean, I could just say names all night. How on earth do you recuperate after some of these wild and intense, brutal matches?
I just get it. You said it during your intro, like, I'm not human. And I go a lot, like, on Twitter sometimes and respond to people, like, sometimes, like, they're like, okay, that was unnecessary, or I was scared, or he's going to get injured. And I go, like, you know, I'm going to use, like, 2 letters, but I say, hey, listen up, everybody. PCO is not effing human. That's it. That's a shoot. You know, that's a shoot. I mean, in a way where, you know, doctors are looking at me sometimes. I got a broken ribs. You know, they think it might be like, you know, some danger for my, or life-threatening injury because I keep on wrestling with it. And like, they all look at each other and say, this guy's not normal. Like, we can't put a real diagnostic on him because, you know, it's nothing takes the route anymore, you know, nothing stays on the road. So it's hard to explain, but it's just like, I've always like to do some like crazy spots and as much as I love to do high flying and things like that, one of my greatest feelings is like, you know, crumbling those ropes, you know, like heavy on their first rope, squashing the second rope, and putting all my weights, like I weighed 1,000 pounds on the top rope, you know, and, you know, just throwing myself up in the air, and people are thinking he's going to land on his neck, he's going to land on his neck, he's going to land on his neck, and then at the last second, just switch my body and hit the moonsault perfectly, and just squishing the guy. You know, that's such a great feeling for an athlete. It's I can't describe how it is, you know, the feeling that it gives me when I hit like a perfect moonsault, you know, and when everybody's thinking, no, it's impossible, he can't make it, and I just make it at the end, you know. So I've always like kind of thrived on those things. So, but there was no purpose for it almost, you know. It was like it wouldn't make sense. But now with the French Canadian Frankenstein, not human, everything makes sense to the crowd and everything makes sense to the fans. And this is the greatest thing, that ever happened in my life, because I'm hitting my peak at 50 years old, which is unheard of,
It really is, man. I mean, you're beyond a late bloomer. We need a new word for that. You're redefining that.
Yeah, and like I've watched, like, maybe Gordie Howe playing hockey, or it's like the Nolan Ryan, pitching balls, at 44, 45, but they were all like not on their prime time. They were like declining a little bit, like. And my situation, it's like 2018 has been like of all the years, it's been my greatest years, because I was like main eventing all the top stars from different territories.
Wow. You really have.
There was like Germany or England or all over the States, with the big promotions, the big indie promotions. So it's been like crazy. Even like, facing Walter at New Orleans for WrestleMania 34 weekend.
Those pictures, my man, of that chest are just scarring pictures in my mind. That was just one of the most
purple,
brutal
blue,
things.
Purple, black. Yeah.
So we mentioned at the intro about how you're now part of Villain Enterprises and Ring of Honor. You're with Brody King, who's had an amazing 2018 as well, and of course Marty Scurll. How has your 2019 been? Because it's been off to a really fast start. So tell us about your new career, your new life in Ring of Honor, and how your year has been so far.
Well, everything went well, starting from the following days of the final battle, which was in Philly, at the arena in Philly, 2300 arena in Philly, and it was, getting into the water a little bit, getting to know my teammates or my opponents, and then getting to know the dressing room and the ins and outs, and the office people, the agents, and things like that. And, pretty much it was like a new environment to me. But I had like a very good welcome, and dressing room was like pretty great, actually. I'm very satisfied with the way I was, received and welcomed. And and then after that, I started like, feeling a little bit like, more at ease a little bit. So it's always when you start a new job or you start somewhere else. I mean, doing different indies, by the time I hit the first time, but by the end of the year, I was like the second time, third time, fourth time, during the year. So like I was going like maybe every other month or so with different promotions. So, and I know Ring of Honor is like one of the major ones. Like it's pretty big. It's a nice company that's growing, and I don't know. I mean, people talk about it big time now. So and then last Sunday, after Saturday was like fun. Center Stage in Atlanta. I think it was a great night for our Villain Enterprises. It was great, and then the Sunday in Concord, North Carolina, it's just been like almost another like a step. And not, it's tough to say that because it's probably like a super good like match with Walter in New Orleans, but that last Sunday was like maybe a little step, above.
Yeah.
Without comparison, because it's a 6-man tag compared to a single match, like a solo match. But I can't really compare, but it was certainly up there, with some of my best stuff that I've done, in the last year.
Yeah, it's been incredible. You haven't slowed down at all. You have a really unique experience in being in wrestling for as long as I've been alive, like 32 years, 33 years or whatever, you've been on the road with WWF, all different companies. How is it different, riding the road and traveling the road and traveling? How is it different now than it was back then? What kind of comparisons are there? Are there some things that are still the same, or are things pretty much still the same when you travel?
No, everything's the same. I think everything's the same. I can't really tell you about, what's happening after I go to bed, which I go to bed like pretty early at night, so I don't really, I don't go out, so I don't really know what's going on. But just from the traveling, itself, and like meeting with the boys early in the morning and things like that, going back home after the tapings or pay-per-view or whatever. To me, it's all the same. But for me, the big difference is the way I perceive things. I'm in a total different state of mind than I was when I was like 24 years old. It feels like I reached another level that I've never been there before, and concentration-wise, staying focused on what I've got to do, focusing on the day that I'm wrestling, not on the future or not so much on the past, but really taking that, fully taking that present moment, and fully taking it, fully living it, and fully being in it, not trying to be outside that bubble, trying to be in the future, and trying to think too much about what's coming up, but focus on the task that I've got to do right now. So my mindset is totally different than it was when I was younger. And I guess at a younger age, catching a big break, like becoming WWE Tag Team Champions, it felt like at one point I felt like I was maybe better than the others, and that's a big mistake that I made. And being able to live, bigger moments, but to not thinking I'm better than anyone, but just being so grateful for having the chance of doing it. And it's not because I don't feel like I deserve it, because I've worked so hard for it. I mean, I've risked everything over and over during my career. I quit great jobs. I, screw up couple lives a few times, being in a couple with someone, with a, girlfriend and things like that, and missing families and things like that. But the same thing that was offered to me in 2017, I quit my regular job and totally focused on the wrestling, and not knowing what the future was holding for me, even though it didn't pay off a few times, that my gut kind of cut out, because I went full-fledged for it and didn't get the payoff, money-wise, and also job-wise, like character-wise, or being in a good spot or anything like that, or just being rejected, from other companies and things like that, like WWE. It makes me now appreciate it like more than ever, like the time that I'm going through right now. So
yeah, you get to for that. You get to actually, and that's something that's really hard to teach a younger person. That's something that's more learned, that you just have to experience things to get to a point where you can just embrace it and take a second.
Yeah, I kind of just throw up flags there for anyone that may understand what I've been through. I mean, I'm not the only one who's been through those traps, and then I feel like WWE are trying not to put like too many young guys in that position anymore, and trying to wait maybe for the late 20s or beginning of the 30s, before they start like really pushing someone, unless something exceptional would come. But that's how I felt. Like they lost, a lot of talent because of success, went to their heads, and they couldn't control anymore their lives, because it changes your life. You go from being, almost not noticed or not recognized to, being recognized by everyone everywhere you go with the public people and public places, and from being famous and everything, and having a lot of money, where suddenly everybody's like around you and asking you for, can I borrow this? Do you want to invest in my company? Do you want to invest offshore? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And everything's happening so fast, and you don't have like a course, a 101 course, how to deal with, fame and fortune or whatever. So making mistakes, sometimes it's hard to go back and have the chance to do it again, but just had to work like maybe 10 times as hard as I worked the first time, just to get to where I'm at today.
So what would you, in retrospect, what would you be telling an 18-year-old who might be listening to this and saying, I want to go take some bumps, I want to get in the ring, I want to be a star, I want to be famous, I want to be proud, and give money to my family? What would you tell like an 18-year-old male or female who's wanting to get into the ring right now?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you asked me that question, because I've been asked that question so many times by guys, that are in the middle of their career or starting their career, or I think 5 or 6 years in. What can I do, to find my character? What can I do to be more creative? What can I do to have like more success? What can I do to get noticed and things like that? So it's a recipe that it could be different for.
It's a case by case kind of.
Yeah,
situation.
But at the end of the day, there's two things that don't lie for sure. The first one, the very, very important one, you have to believe in yourself. And even when others say that you don't have what it takes, and I said it in on the YouTube documentary by Kenny Johnson, where she did a great job. It's called Burn the Ships, because that's my story. I always burn my ships. When I wanted to accomplish something, first question I was asking myself, do I believe in myself enough to do this? So sometimes it was like quitting jobs, leaving my house, going to Puerto Rico for a year or 6 months, or going to England for a year or 6 months, to Germany, or going to South Africa, or just living from trip to trip, like not knowing the future, like going like, okay, I got 3 weeks in South Africa. I don't know what's after that, but whatever comes in, I'm going to take it. That's what I did last year too. That's what I did when I started in the business. At one point, I had to leave Montreal and, go somewhere where I could get noticed, and also build my experience, build my confidence. And at one point, I had to let go of things and fully focus and concentrate on what I wanted to become. And sometimes also you're losing ground when you're trying, like, let's say you're kind of fed up with the fact that your career depends on other people's decision, and sometimes it doesn't happen the way that you want. So you're saying to yourself, well, I'm going to open up like my own business. I'm going to be my own boss. But by doing like having a second thing that takes your attention off wrestling, you're not helping your career by trying to build up like a business on the side. Give everything that you have to give in your dream in your wrestling industry, and don't try to start up a business in the meantime, and you're trying to make it into pro wrestling. That's some of advices that those things didn't work out for me. And I feel like when I totally focus on the task that I have to accomplish, and making a demonstration that will satisfy not my ego, but satisfy myself as I set up goals for myself, and I want to accomplish them. So I want to feel proud of myself. Not because I want to brag about it, not because I want to show the people I'm better than others, but for my own personal wellness, feeling good about myself, feeling good about what I've accomplished, what I can do, what I can bring, what kind of entertainment I can give to the fans, how can I make, by just doing my 15, 20-minute matches, how can I kind of inspire someone or change someone's life or help someone change or believe in themselves and things like that. So how can I make their others' life more fun, or put a smile or put some joy or whatever, whatever it is but it's just by knowing that I'm at the right place doing the right thing, I know that it's better than what I think that I'm actually like doing. I can think it's wider and larger than that. So that's what it is, basically.
So you're saying about, not focusing on other ventures, kind of focusing on what your goal is, and that's for a wrestler. And a lot of wrestlers and personalities are doing that on social media these days. You're doing these really cool promos where showing you working out and like destroying things, which is fantastic. And then you've got other people making like YouTube series, like they're making their own shows essentially to try to get themselves even more famous. So do you think social media is really helping as a whole, or does it get a little too serious sometimes? What do you think about social media?
Well, I'm gonna put it very simply and very clearly to you and to everybody. Social media, I think it's great, but the thing is, we all have social media. So if there's 10 billions of people on there, 10 billions of like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, like the amount of people that there is. Before, let's say it used to be 5 or 6 channels on TV, or 10 or 25 or up to 100. Now there's like 300 or 400 or 1,000 channels on your TV, with satellites or whatever, cables and things like that. So it's like before you had less opportunity, but you had less people trying to get over. Less companies, less people having the capacity, the budget to do something. Now everybody's got a phone, everybody's got access to it. So you need to do something very unique and very special to cut the eye of the whole nation, of wrestling universe or whatever. It's you gotta hit it right on the nail. So it's timing, it's a bunch of different things all mixed up together, and sometimes I got discouraged. It's not because I didn't try things. I didn't I shot so many ideas, creativeness wise, like I shot ideas because most of the time I shot some ideas to WCW. I shot a lot of ideas to WWE, WWF, ECW. I came up with scenarios and things like that. The time was just not there. It wasn't right. And it was like sometimes, like I got into the office with, let's say, John Laurinaitis would say, PCO, who do you think is going to be the next big superstar here in WWE? And so many times I felt like saying it's going to be PCO, but I didn't have the courage to say it because I was not enough convinced, that I knew that's what I wanted to be and that's what I wanted to become. But I felt, what if I throw this out and I look like an egotistical guy or something like that, and it comes across in the wrong way? But in the meantime, if I would have, really believed in it, I would have said it. So I felt like maybe I was confident, but maybe I wasn't confident enough. I knew deep down inside me that I had, maybe I could have done it, but I was not capable of saying it loud. Yeah. And so I was saying, go ahead, tell me. And it's one of those things that no specialist can come up. I don't care if you're Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Paul Heyman, or Eric Bischoff. I mean, when they say this guy is going to make it or this guy is not going to make it, what they don't know what's inside that guy. So, it's like nobody would have thought that Steve Austin was going to do what he was going to do. Like, he just got fired from WCW. He got hired from ECW. He was not going anywhere as the ringmaster. And I've been on this podcast too. And then Jake Roberts just said something 316, and then he just answered back, tomorrow Royal Rumble, whatever. It's going to be Austin 316, and all the signs were up in the air. So it was like nobody expected that. And at the time, they put the rocket under him because he was already up, and they put everything behind it, and it was like an explosion. It was like craziness. It's probably one of the most over character ever, with Hogan and The Rock.
Yeah, it's a good point you make that you don't really you can see things on the surface and you kind of have a perception of somebody, but you have no idea what's actually inside of them, what people are capable of, and that could be a
now
positive.
People. Yeah, when people are saying, when they're labeling someone, this guy is a mid-carder, this guy is a this or that, or he's not, a main eventer. I mean, nobody can label someone like, I've seen, you've seen it too. You've seen hockey players that weren't, or football players, and even baseball players that were drafted on the first round and didn't make it to the big league. And you've seen guys that weren't even under the radar. That were not even just invited to a training camp and became superstar stuff, all-star. They went to the all-star game so many times. I know now in Dallas, you got a good hockey franchise there. I'm making a lot of comparisons with the hockey, but a guy like Martin St. Louis, he was an all-star and never was drafted, nobody looked at him. Nobody wanted to give him a break. A guy like Danny Briere. Well, there's other Luc Robitaille. There's other guys that were not even in the plans, that made huge impact on the game and for the fans, and impacted a lot of people's lives. They impacted my life because while I was going through some rough time, those people were an inspiration for me, and that's the way it goes.
That's incredible, man. So I want to ask you something about the buzz. My buddy Luke, he does a show called the Omega Luke Podcast, and he wanted to ask a question to you. He said, how has the buzz in this past year compared to the mid-90s? Are we in a really kind of special period of wrestling right now?
Yeah, it's blooming. It's blooming, and it's blooming hard. It's an incredible buzz. I mean, it just started in 2018, and now it's gonna be even bigger in 2019. And it's such a buzz that it's gonna be 3 companies at least, being right there, side to side, and it's going to be, who's going to win? The fans are going to win. The supporters are going to win because it pushes everybody to give more. It pushes everybody to surpass themselves. And, at the end of the day, the guy who's is winning over there is the guy who's buying the ticket. He's going to have, everything's going to be so much better because everybody is pushing so much harder to perform and to do their best to entertain. To be, whatever, it takes for someone to go back home and say, well, I had a hell of a night tonight. I was super, and come back with the kids and having the kids going raving about just what they lived, living the experience, and I think 2019 is going to be full of surprises, and it's going to be great.
So talking about taking kids, because I remember when I was a kid, when I was going to those house shows around like 94, 95 as a kid, and I remember seeing like British Bulldog, Bret Hart, Undertaker. They're so scary to me. Is there a time that you remember, like maybe not a match or a particular wrestler, but is there like a time period where you just got hooked in wrestling? Can you remember a certain feud or a certain time period that just captured your love for it?
Yeah, many times during my childhood, I've been through phases where I was totally hooked on wrestling, and I said to myself, "Oh, this is what I want for myself, and this is the life that I want." Without knowing even what it was like in consideration, not knowing the traveling, not knowing, going from hotel to hotels or car rides or airplane rides and things like that. And I just knew as soon as I saw it. I can remember that match. It wasn't like names that were. I think it was like Dan Crawford, Phil LaFawn against Ron Ritchie. Two guys basically from Calgary. Well, Dan Crawford was from Montreal, but he was living in Calgary for a long period of time. They were from Stampede Wrestling, and they came in Montreal for a while for International Wrestling. I can remember that specific night. Dan Crawford and this guy really hooked me on it. I don't know, it was something about that light, just like in and out on top of the ring. It was all dark everywhere. Back then people were smoking. It was like the smokes, going across the light almost. It was like, I don't know. It really caught my eye. And then Road Warriors were a big influence. I really liked them a lot because when the music hits and they came in with their makeup and spike, and they were pretty the first ones to do that.
And they were like the toughest dudes ever, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the Road Warriors were like a big influence, and the local guys like Rick Martel and Dino Bravo and the Rougeaus. I've been, I was watching a lot of their feuds, with different other guys. So I've been really into wrestling from a young age. Actually, the national sport here in Canada is ice hockey, and having practices at 6 a.m. in the morning, I was always tuning on the TV, and I was always hitting pro wrestling, whatever company it was, and I got hooked just by waiting for my lift to come in and pick me up to go to the practice in the morning or to the games on weekends. And when at the age of 12, I lost sight on my right eye due to a pellet gun accident. I totally knew that wrestling was going to be my ticket in life. That was it. I knew right then, and I was hooked for it, big time.
Man, I remember the early 90s myself, just seeing, like you said, Martel. You had the Legion of Doom at that time. You had just all these colorful characters that it was just so appealing to me. It was so much fun. So I'm going to ask you a different kind of question. After a very wild night of wrestling, you've had some of these crazy, intense battles with chairs and tables, and you're falling off the apron and doing moonsaults. How do you kind of calm down? How do you relax after all of this crazy 2018? How do you relax yourself?
Actually, it's not possible, when you get so hyped up, you just don't sleep until the next day. And you have to double sleep, when you get back home. Because, being on the road, we got to be there, let's say, for 1 p.m. And we're leaving at 1 a.m. So it's 12-hour days, because signing autographs, getting ready, doing promos. Sometimes you're working once, sometimes you're working twice. It's a long show, it's TV tapings or pay-per-views. So if you're having a great night, and even when you're not having such a great night, but just going through the whole process, you can barely sleep. You're tossing and turning more than you're sleeping. So you're just trying to at least relax. Trying to just to calm down. Just try to breathe. Deeply, and just trying to focus on the next thing that you have to go through. And that's basically what I do. I get very excited. When I'm having great nights. When I've been through a lot in 2018 and 2019, it's pretty hard to sleep.
Just a peaceful day at home is the big reward. Just relaxing at home, family and stuff.
The day, as soon as I get back home and I sleep, the first night is a real good night of sleep, and I'm trying to get up as late as I can get up, if I don't have to wake up for one reason or another, but if I'm trying to even go back and fully, rest. It's very important to rest once in a while, especially when you have on a very hectic schedule on the road, So yeah, rest is important.
All right, so I'm going to leave you with this question. Now that you are in Ring of Honor, you've got Marty by your side, you've got Brody King, this beast, by your side. What are your goals for 2019 in Ring of Honor? We were talking before we went on air that I'm going to be seeing you in San Antonio. You've got a Dallas, San Antonio, Houston trip coming up. So tell us about your goals, your short-term goals and long-term goals in 2019.
Well, for Villain Enterprises, I think the goals are pretty clear. I think we want to hold every belt in the company. We want the 6-man tag belts, we want the tag belts, we want the TV belts, and we want a world title belt. So we want all the championship for Villain Enterprises between the three of us. It doesn't matter what it is, who gets what, or how we're going to do that. But that's what we've got in mind. That's what I've got in my mind, and speaking with the other, my other two partners, Marty and Brody. We really want to, do something special this year and accomplish things that were never accomplished before. And I guess people now start to get to know me a little bit, where I'm always trying to elevate their goals and trying to reach out, for more opportunities and to reach out for, being the total best that I could be and surrounded with the best, that's good comparison for me. Brody King, he's such a monster, as the 6'6", 300. And you got Marty, the ring savvy, pure wrestling, pure villainess. He's the pure villain, of the three. And you got the guy who's not human, who can take all sort of punishment and always gets back up and always fights back. And no matter what's put in front of him, he always fights back like he did in his life. So it's a very strong parallel between, PCO and not human and whatever, people before resurrection, was always fighting back also and coming back from failures and coming back from, misfortune and coming back from being fired and things like that, or bad lucks or whatever we can call it, adversity. So when you put the three together, it's like a huge tank. And then before you had Cody and the Young Bucks, and they're like Ferraris. So it's okay, the Ferrari can go faster. It's nicer, but the tank can crush you too, and the tank is pretty strong. So it's you can't compare the two styles because they're two different styles.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would love to have the Ferrari or the Lamborghini, but sometimes I'd love to have the tank. So it's just for people to compare both teams, they can't, because it's two different things. You can't compare an apple with a melon or an apple with a banana or whatever. So it's just two different things. So I think this is the greatest thing about the whole thing, the Villain Enterprises.
That's a fantastic analogy to leave it on. So if you're listening to this, please give him a follow at PCO is not human on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. He's got these amazing Monday night PCO and Destro promo vids where he is just destroying things and getting pumped up for the competition, which is a lot of fun to watch. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. Thank you for spending a little time with me, and I will see you in about a week or so in San Antonio. Can't wait.
Oh, man, Wilfred, that was so nice. I mean, nice of you, the intro, your the ending and everything. Thanks so much, and please don't miss this Monday night PCO, Monday night PCO and Destro, because this is going to be so crazy. I think this Monday is going to be one. I think we're going to hit, probably one of the highest score ever. So, everybody just follow me follow PCO's Not Human on Twitter, and I think you'll have some fun for the next Mondays and following what's going on with the greatest wrestling company in the world right now, Ring of Honor.
Well said, man. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow me at Wilfred Watches. I will put this up on the Patreon a little soon for you guys, so patreon.com/Wilfred Watches. And thanks again, PCO. I appreciate it, bud.